And I will say, welcome everyone to the 2022 Indy Runners, Indy Walkers Half Marathon Spring Training Program. And I am your program director, Jeff Daler. And with us are also Terry Townsend, who is a co-program director, especially of the Walkers, and our friend Angelica McMurtry, who is also a co-director. Thank you for waving at us, Angelica. Um, and there's several things that we want to cover tonight. First of all, I have to say thank you for attending, and we are sorry that we are not attending in person. It was just going to be easier given the pandemic that with the surge going on right now to just do it this way. Again, next week, next Tuesday, the 18th, we will be outside going for a run or a walk from Hinkle Fieldhouse, our first 3-mile training session. And again, those are all of these things are kind of whatever you're comfortable with. What is your tolerance, your level of risk that you are happy with? I feel personally that I'll be able to do it. And so if you feel comfortable, then come and join us for a run or a walk on next Tuesday. Several things that we want to cover today is a little bit about this year's program. It's a little different than in the past. We'll have me talking about what the running program looks like. We'll have Terry talking about what the walking program looks like. And then we've got Jim Patton will tell us about what the seminars will be looking like for the next several weeks. And he'll be leading seminar number 1, along with a panel of experts who will tell us about running fundamentals. And just like last year, fun is in all caps. So let's have some fun. I'm going to share my screen with a little bit of a slide deck that will help kind of guide the conversation. And there is that. And we'll do the slideshow thing. So you should all now see the virtual expo on your screen. Thumbs up if that's what you're seeing. Yay, okay, very good. Jennifer says thumbs down. She is not seeing that. Thumbs up for Kathy. Oh, now Jennifer says yes, thumbs up. All right, very good. Okay, fabulous. I'm glad that you are seeing that. So the virtual expo, our agenda, we're gonna have Tracy step in here in a moment. We're going to do some highlights, and then Jim will talk about the seminars, and we'll do that seminar. So I'm going to stop sharing, and Tracy, if you would take over, because the president of Indy Runners and Indy Walkers ought to have the opportunity to say hi. So this is Tracy, and Tracy, thank you very much for your commitment to Indy Runners and Walkers by taking on this role as president. So what do you say?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, so I took over in May as president, and really want to say how excited I am to finally get this STP program up and running and in person again this year. Last year, I think we sorely all missed it. I'll say 12 years or so ago is when I first joined Indy Runners, and it was started as part of this spring training program. And I still, from 12 years ago, remember who my pacers were at the time, and PR'd that first race, and have since then met a lot of lifelong friends as part of Indy Runners. So hopefully you guys have the same experience, and please give any feedback as it goes, with whether it's your coaches or with me personally, what you think of the program and how you think we can improve it, if you think it needs to improve, or what's going right for you. So we always are looking for the feedback as we evolve this program. So again, thank you all for joining. Thanks for Jeff's leadership, and Terry and Angelica stepping up as well. And yeah, just looking forward to seeing everybody this year. Thanks, Jeff.
Very good. Thank you, Tracy. And you all will see Tracy. Tracy is signed on as a coach. So he will be at most or all of these Tuesday and Saturday runs. And now he'd probably be there anyway, whether there was a program or not, because he's a pretty dedicated runner. So what is this program, the spring training program? Well, we've got 3 goals, and you probably saw these on the website if as you looked at the website before you registered. But to reiterate, we want to help all runners and walkers of all abilities and experience levels to complete a spring half marathon or other race this spring, to increase fitness and training knowledge and experience, and to develop relationships with other runners and walkers. These are people, we get together with these people because they have something in common with us. We all like to get outside and do some exercise, get out either running or walking. And so it's a place for us to come together as people that we like to hang out with. And I really want to stress that runners and walkers of all abilities and experience levels, one of the things that I have appreciated about the spring training program is that some of the people that I'm running right next to have run 20 Indy minis and have run 20 spring training programs with Indy runners, and others are doing it for the very first time. And this variety of experience is really fun because those people who have been around for a while can share some things, and the new folks get to learn from that. The new folks bring some great ideas, and it's just fun to have, to meet new people. So all abilities and experience levels, and so we have some very fast people. We have all sorts of different speeds that each of us is running at. And so I'm positive if you're new to the program, you'll find someone who's going to be running about the same rate of speed that you are. Let's go on here to the goal of coaches. So we've got a set of coaches this year. In the past, we had pacers. Those pacers were running, 8-minute miles or 9-minute miles or 10-minute miles or 12-minute miles. This year we have coaches, and part of the reason is that at the beginning of the session, we're going to do some base building, and we're all going to be running kind of fairly slowly. And then we're going to do some faster speed work. And so when you're running a quarter mile, you don't really need a pacer to pace you at a particular rate of speed. You just run at that level of effort that is the right level of effort. And we'll talk more in a minute about what that means. So coaches are here to welcome those of you who are new to the program, especially, but all of us are here to help people feel welcomed. And they are also here as a resource for information and encouragement to keep going, to be able to meet your goals, your personal running goals as you do the spring training program. So who are the coaches? And these are the coaches. Davey, Davina, Nina, Tracy, Allie, Pappy, Kathy, Carolyn, Joe, Craig, Andrew, and Laura, thank you for volunteering to be coaches this year. We really appreciate it. We do still have a need for a few more coaches. We have some who are pretty fast, and we have some who are, further out towards that 10-minute mark. We could probably still use a few people who are running, between 8 and 10-minute miles to help us out. Even though we're not pacing, we do want to have coaches that kind of address, be running at every level. And so if you know anybody that might still be interested in being a coach, there's still time to sign up as a coach. There are some incentives that go along with being a coach. You get your Indy Runners membership for free. We'll probably have some decent size swag at the end of the program as well. And of course, the biggest advantage that you get is hanging out with awesome people on Tuesdays and Saturdays. I love there's at least somebody who likes that. That's good. So more review. Who is it that participates in the Indy Runners Half Marathon Spring Training Program? It's walkers, it's runners that want to finish a half marathon, and then it's runners that want to get faster at a half marathon. And there's a distinction. There are a number of us that show up on Tuesday nights and Saturday mornings, and you know what? We just want to hang out with our friends. We're not looking to break any speed records. We maybe set our PR 10 years ago, and it's never going to get any faster than that. And I, just want to finish. Some newer runners, the goal probably is, let's just finish the first one and then get that experience under your belt. And then in the future, that's a good time to start training to get faster. But then there are quite a few of us, according to the survey that was part of the registration process. There are quite a few people who really do want to get faster. So we've got different training schedules for each of these three groups. And you probably saw those again when you went to the Indy Runners website. That's the place to go to download the one that works best for you. I'm going to show here, and this is going to be small and hard to see, especially for those of you on your phones. But again, go to the website, download the PDF of the training program that's going to work for you. I'm sharing this screen here. You can see that in the I Want to Get Faster training program, we're doing conversational pace, level 1, and we'll talk more about that in a moment, for this whole first month of training. So beginning next week and running through the next 4 weeks. But for those people who are in this I Want to Get Faster training program, there might be some folks that say, you know what, I'm going to take one more trip around the loop around Hinkle Field on campus, or I'm going to just go over to Holcomb Gardens and run the Holcomb Hill 5 times. And so a group of us will run the training program for the day, the 3 miles, and then we'll come back and we'll meet up and say, okay, I'm going to do this much more. Who's with me? And we'll bring some extra people along. I know that some of the folks that are in this program are already trained up, that they have a base already built, and they're going to want to do some extra. For all of the training programs that I've been involved with, there was also always a few of us that said, I'm going to go further. I'm going to do the 3 miles, and I'm going to do the 3 miles again, or I'm going to do some other thing. So we want to allow you to do that, and we've got a training schedule built for you to add on. But then once we get into middle of February, beginning on the 15th of February, all of us are going to head out to Rocky Ripple and do some quarter-mile repeats. In this first Tuesday, the 15th, we'll do 4 repeats, and we'll do those at a faster rate of speed than we were doing the first 4 weeks worth of work. Instead of conversational pace, we'll be going faster. So we'll get into that in a bit. But if anyone has any questions on how to read through this schedule, please let us know, and we'll be very happy to answer any questions. By the way, if any of you have any questions during this program, raise your hand physically or raise your hand on Zoom, and we'll get your questions answered. So let me go back now to the slides and move on. So the program philosophy this year, instead of being sort of pace oriented, is oriented more towards the level of effort that you are putting into every run or walk. So let's talk more about what that is. We're using a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the slowest pace that we would be running or walking, and 5 being the fastest. And the slowest pace, you can carry on a conversation. The fastest pace, you can't even speak. You're sprinting. This is a sprint. And the other paces are in between there. So level of efforts of 70 or 80 or 90 or 95%. And you can see in the bold, one of the ways that you can kind of gauge how fast you are going is by whether or not you can carry on a conversation. How many words can you get out without having to take a breath? So if you can speak in complete sentences, you're running at that level 1 pace, and that's the pace that we'll be going for the first month as we build base. Level 2, you can still carry on a conversation, It's going to be harder. You're going to be kind of catching some air. Level 3, you're going to be able to talk in phrases. You won't be able to make it through a whole sentence without having to take a breath. Level 4, you might be able to speak a word or two. And then level 5, again, it's a sprint. You won't be able to speak much without falling over. No falling over. We don't allow that. So the level of effort, we'll be kind of reiterating this throughout the program to make sure that you know where you're at. And here's the reason why we felt that it was important this year to introduce this new thing. This new thing is important because if you have built up a fitness base, then you are less likely to be injured as you are going through the program once we start that speed work. So the speed work can put extra taxing on your muscles. I know that there have been times when I've kind of tweaked a hamstring because I started to do strides of 100 meters or so and running at a very high rate of speed, and it was more stress than my body was ready for at that time. I needed more fitness base before getting into that kind of work. So we want to protect your health, and we want to make sure that you don't say after 3 weeks, oh my gosh, this is too hard. I'm not going to be able to make it 16 weeks until the marathon. So we want to start off slow. And that's our goal, is to get us started slow. And then for those people who are trained up already or who have earlier races than May, they have the option to add on to do some things at a higher level of effort. Let me ask if there's questions before I introduce Jim to do the next phase of the program. So anybody have any questions on where to find the schedule? Do you have it? I hope you have it. Any questions on level of effort and what that means? Any questions? And, we started the recording after having had a little conversation prior to recording. And so for those of you who weren't part of that discussion and who are watching this on YouTube, a reminder that we will be running in person from Hinkle Fieldhouse. We are allowed in Hinkle Fieldhouse, so that if you want to come and use the restrooms to change into running gear, you can do that. If you need to use the restroom, you can do that. They are asking that we use masks indoors. You do not have to be masked outdoors as we're running. And for those of you who are uncomfortable being inside Hinkle Fieldhouse, you are welcome to come to the run and meet us outside and join us as we take off. So that's just a reminder. So again, questions? Who's got questions about the program this year?
Hey, Jeff, there's been a number of questions in the chat. Brian Cake's doing a nice job getting answers out to everyone. I think he's got most of them answered. We do start, the walkers will take off at 5:45 on Tuesday nights and the runners at 6. He's addressed a question about parking. I think the one question hasn't been addressed yet, maybe this one's to Terry. There's a question about, are there different pace groups for walkers? And if there are, what are they, or how's that work? Or Jeff, either one of you guys can answer that.
Yeah, let's turn. In fact, you know what? That was supposed to be part of our plan here, is to have Terry kind of speak to the walkers, and so I'm glad that you reminded me. And so, yeah, as mentioned, 5:45 start time for walkers, 6 o'clock for runners. Best if you can come 15 minutes in advance, so that you're ready to go when we launch, because like Terry says, we're sharp. 5:45 sharp, that's when we're going for walkers. 6 o'clock sharp, that's when we're going for runners. Terry, tell us more about the walking program.
Yes, to answer that question, the answer is yes. There's typically always a fairly wide range of walking speeds. I would say typically it could be anywhere from 13 minutes per mile or even faster. We have had people faster than that. Sometimes we have people significantly faster than that. People, a few people in the 12s, all the way up to when we start, there are people that are around 20 minutes per mile. So you can see there is a fairly diverse group of people. What we have done since we re-engineered this program in 2014 is disperse throughout the group of walkers. And I'm looking at those who have, we have about 30 folks who have signed up so far as walkers. Within that group of 30 or however many we have, we will always have someone who is up toward the front and is close to whatever the fastest walker might be. We have tried to have a couple of people in the middle. So perhaps we might have someone who is walking 14, 15-minute pace, someone who, a couple in the middle who are walking 16, 17-minute pace. And then we always have someone at the very back who is bringing up the back of the pack. We never lose anyone. We never leave anybody behind. So that is basically how the walking program has been run. And that's how I anticipate it being managed again this year. Do you want me to go into some more information about the walking program right now, or is there something else that you wanted to talk about, Jeff?
No, Terry, go ahead. Let's hear some more.
Okay. So in general, what about the walking program? Well, what are we trying to do with the walking program? The number one thing that we're trying to do is we're trying to ensure that everyone will finish the mini marathon. That's been the goal from the very beginning when, as I said, when we re-engineered this program in 2014. But that's not all. It's not just finishing. Here's what I can guarantee. I can guarantee for all the walkers, if we have walkers on the call tonight, and if we have any veterans, they will have heard me say this many, many times. I can guarantee that if you finish this program, if you complete this program, not only will you finish the mini, but you will, without doubt, beat the bus. And for those of you who know what the bus is, you'll know that the mini marathon has a 4-hour time limit. And if for some reason you are not capable of maintaining that pace to beat the 4-hour time limit, which if you do the arithmetic, it's slightly over 18-minute pace. I believe it's 18 minutes and 18 seconds per mile. They scoop you up and you get on the bus and they will drive you back to the finish line. And I will guarantee that anybody in the walking program that can who completes this walking program will never have to ride that bus. And in addition to that, it's not just beating the bus and it's not just finishing. For many, many years, I have spent a couple of hours standing along New York Street and watching the finish of folks as they come in. And when it gets to 3 hours and beyond 3 hours, sometimes the situation is a little bit dire. And by that, I mean, you see people that are struggling. You see people that are barely moving. You see people that are in obvious distress. And the reason is they're not trained. They are not ready to do this. I think you and we've all heard stories of people who thought they could just wake up on mini marathon day and go down there and do it. And maybe they can, but they will be those people that I see struggling on New York Street, and they will be in misery for several days thereafter. I can guarantee for the walking program that you finish our walking program, that is not going to be you. You're not going to be struggling. You're going to be like the rest of the people that I see in our walking program. You're going to be high-fiving me when you come down New York Street, and you're going to be finishing strong, and you're not going to be in misery for the next 3 or 4 days because you were improperly trained. That's just it. That's just the truth. That's just a fact. And all those folks, those several thousand folks that I see every year that are struggling on New York Street, they should be in our program. Because if they were in our program, they wouldn't be struggling. They would be finishing strong. They would be happy. they would be high-fiving their friends. They'd be high-fiving me. They'd be high-fiving the rest of the folks in the program. And I think that's probably the best endorsement that we can give for this program. The training will be at times difficult. The walking program we'll be doing hills. We will be doing some intervals. We'll be doing things very similar to what the runners are doing, all in an effort to create what I call that buffer of fitness, so that when you show up at the starting line for the mini marathon, regardless of what the weather is, and we all know the weather can be just, it's a crapshoot. It can be hot. It can be hot and humid. It can be windy. It can be hot, humid, and windy. It can be raining. It could be cold. It could be anything. But if you finish this program, you will have that buffer fitness that will allow you to overcome any of those obstacles, any of those weather obstacles that other people will be suffering for. And I think that, we've got 6-7 years here of information that confirms for me that this works, and it'll work again this year. And I'm really looking forward to it. I've missed it. I missed it terribly when we had to shut it down in 2020, and I missed it terribly last year. And I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody in person. And for all of the folks out there, the 30 or so folks who are already signed up, hey, get your friends, get your family, you get your coworkers, get your relatives, get your siblings, get your mom and dad, get your sons and daughters, get them out here, get them signed up. It's a terrific program. They'll do great. You'll be successful. That's what we're looking for. That's it.
Thank
That's
you very
all I
much,
got.
Terry. I appreciate it. I also appreciate all the good stuff that's happening in the chat. Thanks for all of you for participating. For those of you who are watching the recorded version, some of the questions have included things like, where do I park? And Hinkle has lots of free parking right there in front of the building. And even if you can't get in front of the building, down to, let's see, I guess that would be to the east of the building, in front of the football stadium. There's a huge amount of parking there too, so not a problem. We enter. Anybody remember which door number we enter? It's on the far
gate one.
number.
The earlier you get there to park, the closer you can park to gate one.
There you go. So gate one is the gate furthest to the west of on the furthest away from the football stadium, and so but. All I do is I show up and I look for other runners going into the building. That's follow them. So very good. Thank you, Terry. And now Jim will, oh yes, Jennifer will run for beer. That's great. Also love Jennifer's dog. That dog just is just the best dog ever. Yeah. All right, Jim. Tell us more about what's happening on the seminar. But first, let me answer a question from Valerie about, can we just join on Saturdays if we don't have Tuesdays available? You know what? Absolutely. And in fact, in the past, we really only offered Tuesday nights. And we're now doing Tuesdays and Saturdays for the full 16-week program. Again, Tuesday nights at Hinkle at 6 o'clock, 8 a.m. Saturday mornings at St. Vincent's Clinic in the right next to the Monon in Broad Ripple, and really for you to take advantage of the program the best that you can. It's nice to be able to be at both things, but if you can't be, then do what works for you. But try to get the workouts in that are scheduled. Because those Tuesday workouts are the ones where we will be doing some speed work. Saturdays will be where we do our long, slow distance that gets us up to 11 or 12 miles in advance of the half marathon in May. So great question, and that one of the, we're doing a series of 2-minute tips videos this year. One of the tips will be about what happens also if life got in the way, I had to take a week off, or an illness or an injury. And we'll have some recommendations on how to get through that. And those questions might also be answered in seminars, etc. So good reminder from Trina that, of course, there are club runs Wednesdays at 6 p.m. at the Athenaeum downtown, Thursdays at 6 p.m. at Runners Forum in Broad Ripple, and Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. near Fort Bend State Park out to the northeast. And great opportunities to meet some more runners and hang out with some people and do some fun running or walking. All right, Jim, what can you tell us about upcoming seminar topics?
Sure, thanks, Jeff. And yeah, keep the questions going in chat. I appreciate the people that are answering the questions as well. This is awesome. I too am excited to be back in person, though. What are you talking about? We're not in person tonight, but we will be next week. Last year, if you were part of the program, you remember we improvised, we pivoted, and we wanted to continue to hold training seminars on topics important to runners and walkers. And so we did those virtually. And we recorded all those. And in fact, we have them all saved as YouTube videos, and you can access those. And in fact, throughout the training program, we'll probably even reintroduce some of those. But the goal this year is to do those seminars in person. And the plan is to do them in person after our run or walk on Tuesday nights at Butler's. So there will be space provided. Some of the topics we're going to cover, some of the feedback we received when you signed up for the program was, well, I want to learn more. I want to learn more about, different aspects of my training or what it means to train for a half marathon. So we will start out. I'll give you just a preview of the first 3 seminars. After tonight's kickoff, and we're going to talk about running fundamentals. Next week on the 18th, Jesse Davis, who's an elite runner here in town, also a board member, and also works at Runners Forum, is going to talk about dressing for success. So, gosh, it's that time of year where it's cold. It goes from 40 degrees one day to 10 the next day. What should I wear? What different layers should I wear? What about socks? What about, a real important piece of gear, shoes? So Jesse will be in person. We'll start the seminar probably 6:45-ish or so. We'll base it always on how long we think it'll take for the runners and walkers to return back to Hinkle, because we don't want to leave anybody out. So between probably around 6:45, these first couple of weeks, we'll be trying to gather folks. Hey, if you're interested in the seminar, pointing in the right direction. Then on January 25th, we'll have Dr. Kelly Higgins from Indy Podiatry. So both Runnings Forum and Indy Podiatry are sponsors of the club. Those sponsorship dollars are important to us. But Dr. Higgins will talk about injury prevention. So now we've been in the program a couple weeks, getting up and you're starting to have maybe a little stiffness. You've done your long run or done some hills. You're not sure why your Achilles is bothering you. Dr. Higgins will talk about injury prevention and injury care if necessary. And then the third one will be on February 2nd. And it'll be Lindsay Langford or one of her colleagues from St. Vincent Sports Performance, again, another sponsor of the club, and talk about nutrition. And I know I've spent some time with Lindsay and the folks at St. Vincent Sports Performance a few years back, and it was life-changing for me as a runner. I run in terms of things I was doing wrong, whether it was nutrition throughout the week or right before I went for a run or during a run, or surprisingly, I was messing everything up after the run. I wasn't getting enough nutrition once I was done with a hard workout. So real good information Lindsay will provide. And then on February 8th, and this tracks with your schedule that you'll see, your runner or walkers training program schedule, will be a pizza night. And on those pizza nights, we will not plan on having a seminar. We'll give everybody an opportunity to socialize and get to know each other better. So those are the first 3 seminars. Other topics you'll see, and we'll update the schedule as we go, as well as you'll see this on social media. We always do a session on preparing for race day. What should I be on the lookout for? I've never done a race before. How do the water stops work, for example? Ways to screw up your goal pace for a race. How can all this training I've done, how can I go out there and mess that up? What are some common things, like maybe going out too fast? Cross training, there's an interest in people that want to talk about not only running, but are there other things I should be doing for other muscle groups? As runners, I know I'm personally bad at times of making sure that I'm working the other muscle groups as well. So those are some of the other topics, but in your chat, as we continue on and we'll start this first session, this first seminar here next, feel free to throw in other topics that you've always been interested in, maybe in running, that I haven't covered. So if there's something that you'd really like to know more, I can't make any promises that we can cover them all, but it's still early enough in the program, because we go all the way out until, you know, the mini in May, early May, still early enough that we can develop some other programs. I see stretching, one of my things that I should be doing that I hate and dread. And so it would be a really good topic for me, Jennifer, to do a session on stretching. So we'll make sure we get that one added to the list. I don't like to stretch all the way back to my high school football days, but that's another story. So thank you, Jennifer, for putting that in the chat. And to just, since we're about 20 minutes out, so we're right on schedule, I want to dive into what we'll call our first seminar, actually, on running and walking fundamentals. Again, Jeff is making sure that we emphasize the fun. So you always see that capitalized, FUN, because that's what it is about, right? As we want to get together and build, camaraderie and get to know some new folks. So tonight I've asked, well, I think Jeff said it, experts, three of the people that I think know the most about running and walking in the city of Indianapolis to join us and just answer a few questions. This is open forum. If you have questions in the chat, feel free to add them. But I've got a few questions I'll throw out to get the discussion going. I'll be sensitive to time because I do want to get us out of here at 7 o'clock. But I've invited Trina Radabush and Terry Townsend and Brian Cake to join the panel to ask a few questions. I know I joined the Indy Runners and this spring training program, man, it must have been a decade ago, and I was brand new to running, and I was scared. I was nervous. Like, hey, all these people are fast. I'm just starting out. How's this even going to work? And I'm hoping that a session like this will put you at ease. That we have, because Terry mentioned with the walkers, the same way as runners, we have a pace for everybody. So from an introduction standpoint, and I'll start with ladies first with Trina. Trina, if you could maybe tell me how long you've been running or walking, your ballpark estimate on how many times you've been a part of the training program, and then what's your favorite route in the city to run or walk? Because I know some people, they're going to be looking for new routes, especially if they're new to this, but maybe a good place to go get a run or walk in.
Yeah, I'm Trina Radabush. I'm a past president of Indy Runners. I can't remember how long I've been running. I hated it for the first several years. Now I love it. My first marathon was 2013, and I'm coming up on number 60 pretty soon. My favorite route is either Eagle Creek loops or the Penn Loop. You can adjust the distance. You can get some hills. You can feel like you worked really hard, but it's not going to kill you.
Thanks, Trina. And Terry?
Well, I think I'm probably I'd be surprised if I'm not the oldest member of Indy Runners, or I've been in Indy Runners the longest. Let me put it that way. I became involved with the club in 1983, and I've been involved with the training program. Golly, it's hard to say. 25 years or more, probably. As I mentioned earlier, I took over sort of the facilitation, management, coaching of the walkers in 2014. And just from a walking standpoint, and running too, for that matter, I enjoy, there are some I know that it sometimes can be a little repetitive when we're around Butler, but frequently as the year goes on, I'm able to send the walkers off in different areas so they see a little different part of the Butler-Tarkington neighborhood. And we try very hard not to interfere with the runners, so there's never a very, very seldom an opportunity for the runners and the walkers to get in each other's way. When we get out on Saturdays and we're out on the Monon, I love the ability to send the walkers off the Monon and into the Arden neighborhood. For those of you who are familiar with that, it's just on the north side of White River, north of Broad Ripple. And then from there up through Meridian Kessler neighborhood. It's beautiful. There's some good rolling hills. It's a terrific workout, but it's also very fun. And as we get closer and closer to springtime, and once we start doing the long walks on Saturday, it's just, it can be a very, very gorgeous place just to walk. So those are my recommendations.
Awesome. Thank you, Terry. And see, there's someone on this call tonight that doesn't realize it, but 25 years from now, they're going to be talking about the spring training program and when they started back in 2022. So that's awesome. And Brian.
Yeah, hi, I'm Brian Cake. I've been a runner for a little over 25 years. Been with the club since 2002, including this training program. Since then, I don't know, I think I've done the mini 20 times or something like that. So I think I'd say my favorite place to run is probably Eagle Creek. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. And so now a few questions to get this discussion started. And I actually saw one of these already pop up in the chat, so I'm just going to jump down to it. But Trina, you know, what if I can't run or walk for a week? You know, maybe life gets in the way, right? It could be the weather, it could be something going on at work, it could be illness. What's it gonna mean to me in my training program?
It's all over. No, I'm kidding.
All right, next question.
No, I would say look for any opportunity to get out and do something, even if it's shorten your workout, maybe do a little bit of speed work instead of a longer run. If that's not possible, it's okay. Start back as soon as you can, and you can jump, if you've only missed a couple of days, maybe a week, jump back into your training plan on the day that you jump back in. You don't have to make up for any lost time. The one thing I would say not to do is try to recoup those miles. If you miss a day, you've missed a day, move on. You're fine with it.
Yeah, I say amen to that. I get this question a lot from walkers. If you know somebody gets sick, somebody's got out of town, you know, for work. The program is long enough, and the program is designed well enough that you can afford to miss some days if you're sick. And for God's sake, don't go out there and do something stupid like Trina just said and try to make things up. Don't start going twice as far or try to run faster or do something like that. You don't need to. You don't need to. You'll be fine. You know, unless somehow you acquire a serious illness or a very serious injury. Just relax, be calm. You will have time to just gradually get back to where you need to be. It's something that people fret about, but they shouldn't. And the worst thing you can do if you miss time is to try to make it up by going faster or farther or more days or twice a day or all the other crazy things that we know that people do. No, just don't do that. Just ease yourself back into it, stick to the program. And I agree with Trina completely. You'll be fine.
The only thing I'd add to that is coming back. One thing I often do is not only come back and do less miles when you come back, but also go slower. There's no reason you have to keep on going your usual pace. You know, slow up for a week or two, and then you'll get back into it. That'll also help you reduce the chance of getting injured when you try to get back into it.
Yeah, I would echo that, especially if you're coming back from being sick. Your body is still healing, even if you feel pretty good. And listen to your body when you're coming back from illness or injury.
Hey, Brian Shooter, and I saw your message in the chat. If you can jump on. What if I do get injured? What are some? What can I do about that? How can I get that checked out to try to determine whether I should run or not, or maybe to work on solving my injury problem?
Whoa, I'm just sitting here listening and playing on my phone. And now you're wanting me to
I knew I'd catch him
nice
off guard. I
people
could
in
do that.
boxes. Hello, nice people in boxes. Jim Patton, what's happening? So yeah, welcome everybody. Sorry to be lurking and dropping notes in the chat. Kathy Sachs is going to fight Terry Townsend for the old sage wise person category, I think is what she's motioning there. So yes, I'm a physical therapist with St. Vincent Sports Performance. I see a good amount of runners and walkers on my schedule from time to time. So I drop my little medical at indyrunners.org email in the chat there. So I'm always available for just talking things through or directing you to some providers if you need, or giving you some advice. We will have, I need to double check with scheduling and whatnot, but we'll have injury checks from time to time. So live people in the building that you can work with, give you a little check, a little 5 to 10 minute check. If something's getting cranky or something's a little squeaky, needs bothering you, something like that, over the course of the program. So email's always there. I'll be around as well. And certainly anybody can kind of filter my way. So there may or may not be some wonderful clients of mine hiding amongst these boxes. So I'm happy to see some nice faces and names. So good times.
Thanks, Brian. I knew he wouldn't mind me, or maybe will mind me putting me on the spot, but Brian's a board member and has, gosh, done a lot of good for a number of people on these calls, including me. I've never had a running injury really to speak of in the 13 years I've been running, and got hurt this past summer in July. And by November, he had me finishing, had an Achilles problem, had me finish in the Monumental Half Marathon. So Brian and the team at St. Vincent Sports Performance are outstanding in terms of, either one, helping you diagnose what your issue is, and or two, getting you on the right path through physical therapy that you can do both there and at home. So great sponsor. So thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Jim. You're very kind. I'm going to go back to having my chocolate cake that my young bride has fixed. Good. Go get them, everybody. Thanks.
Thanks, Brian. Next question. Saturdays we have the long run, long walk. Trina, what's the purpose of the long run? Like, why do I need to be doing that? What's that all about?
Yeah. Number of reasons that we do it: build endurance, build confidence. It's really hard to tell all of the stories about everything that's gone on in the week when you're only running, 30 minutes. So we pack a lot of extra time in there. To kind of harken back to the first question, if you have to miss a run, try to protect your long run. Even if you can't do it on Saturday, if you need to move it to a different day, that is one of your most valuable pieces of your training. That is not to say that is the only run you should ever do, but if something has to go, protect that one. You're going to start building slowly, adding week after week, and get fairly close to your race distance. So when it comes to race day, you're going to know you can do it. You're going to know that you can maintain that pace as well. And likely because of your taper and all of your training, you're going to be able to go a little bit faster than what you've been training at.
Perfect. Thanks, Trina. Terry, anything to add from a walker's perspective about the long walk?
Our bodies need to get used to being out there for a long time. And when you're walking, you're going to be out there for a very, very long time. It's going to be 3 hours and 15 minutes, 3 hours and 3.5 hours or more. And if you haven't done the 9, 10, and 11 mile walks or more, your body is not going to be ready to do that. So it's really, really, I agree with Trina 100%. If you had to trade a day or two of certain types of training, you do the long walk. Your body needs to know what that feels like. Even though the walkers are going to be walking that at level 1 conversational pace, your body needs to know what that 10, 11 miles feels like. So yes, absolutely.
Thanks, Terry. And Brian Cake, now when I go out and do that long run or long walk, like I want to crush that, right? Like I want that to be my pace that I'm hoping to PR when I get to the race, isn't it? Isn't that how that works, or am I wrong on that?
That's actually the thing I was going to bring up. You can do that, but if you keep on doing that, you may not be getting the starting line. But the thing to realize, seriously, the thing to realize is that in the long run, that's when you're getting your body used to going for a long time. Do that one nice and easy. If you got a chance, do that with other people. Just run with them, just walk with them, talk through it so that you don't go too fast. Use your other runs and walks if you want to get faster. The key of that run, that walk really is to get your body used to be there for a long time. So just number one thing for that is just do it nice and slow. Seriously, you'd be surprised at how slow some of the really fast people, much people that are much faster than us go. That really is the number one thing.
The other, oh, sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
Sorry, Trina, if I can add, in the I want to get faster training program, you'll notice that as we get longer and longer into those long runs, we're still at level 1 conversational pace for most of those runs. But for those that want to get faster, we're suggesting, the last 2 miles of your 10-mile run, let's say, would be run at race pace, just to condition yourself to get used to running at race pace on tired legs, but not doing your whole run at race pace, just the last 2 miles. The rest of it, level 1 conversational pace. And so that's one thought. And then the second thought is, a couple of weeks ago, I put out one of our 2-minute tips on something called the Magic Mile. And so go to the Indy Runners or Indy Runners in Training Facebook page and click the link and go and watch the video. But Jeff Galloway, who has trained 300,000 runners, I mean, it's a lot of people. This guy knows running, has this thing called the Magic Mile, and he convinced me by me reading his webpage that I've been running my slow runs far, far, far too fast. He really says, run slow to run fast. If you run slow, you're going to get all of those benefits without injuring yourself, without overtaxing your muscles. So yeah, that's really critical. Sorry to interrupt, Trina.
Oh, no, I was going to say the other benefits or other things to think about with your long run or long walk, test out the clothes that you think you're going to want to take on race day. Sometimes they hold up for 4 or 5 miles and then they start rubbing weird after a while. Practice drinking out of a cup while you're moving. You can buddy up and somebody can hold and you can practice that. Practice your nutrition, what you're going to eat beforehand, make sure it sits well. Again, short runs, walks, things may not irritate you, but once you get into it or you try to eat mid-workout, you'll learn what sits well, what doesn't. You don't want to learn those on race day. So think through all the things that you can practice. You have a lot of time out there to try that.
I've always wanted to join a place that says we should practice drinking. So thank you for that.
Oh, yes, I fully support you practicing drinking. Whatever's in the cup is your business.
Thank you, Jeff. So we're at just about 3 minutes out. So I'm just going to ask one more question of each of you, and then we can open it up for any other questions, or Jeff can close. What's one piece of advice that you would give to someone who's entering this program for the first time, or even with the changes we made to the program? Trina, you're getting ready to do your first spring training program. What's the best piece of advice you can give someone? I'll ask each of the three of you that.
I'll do 2 short ones.
Sure.
1, stick with it, keep showing up. 2, get a buddy.
Great. Terry?
You need to be consistent. So that's similar to what Trina's saying. You need to be consistent with what you do. You need to be persistent in that there will be bad days. We will be out there sometime when the weather is absolutely horrible. And, the difference between someone who is really serious about doing well is when they look outside to see what the weather is, all they're trying to do is figure out what to put on. They're not deciding whether they're going out or not. They've made that decision a long time ago. So you need to be consistent. You need to be persistent. And I'll also add, you need to be resistant. And you need to be resistant by that, what I mean is there will be outside influences that are going to try to stop you from doing what you would like to do. You need to do the very best you can to ignore those, work through those, and tell people, hey, you know what? I have my walk to do, I have my run to do, and then I can do this other thing. So consistency, be persistent, and resistant to people that are trying to get in your way.
I love all three of those things, Terry. And Brian?
I'd say the biggest thing, if you're new to this, I realize you're probably concerned. You're probably going, oh, I'm showing up. I don't know what I'm doing. Don't worry about it. It's been a while, but I was thinking a few years ago, we did a survey and something like, I don't know, I think at least a third of the people there had never done a half marathon. So the biggest thing to realize is you're not the only new person showing up. That's the reason we've got coaches. Please do ask them questions. It makes them feel smart. So don't be afraid to ask them, you know, I don't care how stupid the question sounds, it's really not. And like I said, they get to feel smart, so.
Oh yeah, we all need to feel smart. You know, everybody needs to feel smart once in a while.
That is true. And I thank the panel, Trina and Terry and Brian. And again, they'll be available throughout the training program. You'll see them out at Hinkle. Feel free, like they said, to ask a question. I mean, there's a ton of years of experience, not only with those three, but a lot of other folks that'll be in the program. And Jeff, I'm going to turn it back over to you for any final follow-up and maybe any questions I missed in the chat.
Much appreciated, and appreciate the continued questions in the chat. Has been very good with corresponding answers. One of the things that walkers were pointing out is, do we walk sometimes on the same course as the runners? For the first 2 Tuesdays, that is the case. We have a 3-mile route that goes through the Butler campus and back, and so it can get a little trafficy during that walk and run. Many of the runs do not run on the same course as many of the walks do not run on the same course as the runners do. So and part of that is just to avoid the congestion. And so at the beginning of every run, you can expect that you will be given direction on where the course goes. And let's see here. Brian Cake, would you remind me? I know that you cone off, kind of use cones to help guide us for the running course. What happens for the walkers?
Well, just for the runners, just so you know, at least the first 2 weeks, what we'll do is I'll put down some little 9-inch orange cones that you'll just follow. If you see a line of cones curving to the right, curve to the right. If you see one's curving to the left, curve to the left, just follow the cones. As far as the walkers, I'll let Terry address that because I don't know for sure what their plan is.
Yeah, and I'll just parrot what Jeff said here very briefly. Yes, in the first couple of weeks or so, the walkers and the runners will be using the same course through Butler. It's very dark this time of year, and one of the reasons that we stay on campus. And sometimes it's snowy, and sometimes it's icy, and sometimes you just need to know where you're going, and they have sidewalks that are fairly wide. But that's also part of the reason why the walkers leave 15 minutes early. They're out in front. They're a third of the way done with the walk before the runners get started. Most of the rest of the year, the vast majority of the rest of the year, the walkers are on completely different courses from the runners. So it's just those first couple of weeks where we have the potential for, we just need to be nice to each other and give each other room. That's all.
Thank you, Terry. A couple of great questions in the chat about how are we going to know who's going at our pace. And like I said, we won't be concentrating on pace, but I think we're still going to, we've got these laminated pace cards that say 8 minutes 8:30, 9 minutes 9:30. I think we're still going to tape those up on the wall in Hinkle that's kind of across from the bathrooms. And if you could if you know what your pace is, which is always hard to know, especially when we're talking about a very slow pace, as we talk about the level 1 effort. We'll still put those pace cards out there so you can at least kind of group yourselves by where you think you fit in, and then make sure you introduce yourselves once you're out there about a mile and a half. Make sure you introduce yourselves to people around you. Try to remember their names so that you can find them again next week, so you can run with the same group of people. That's the beauty of this kind of a program, is that there's going to be somebody running about your speed. One of the things that I want to note is that, and I'm going to go back to this magic mile thing. I'm not fast enough to win anything, but I'm a faster runner. And so so what I learned is, and when you go to this magic mile thing, I inputted my mile time, and it just pegged exactly what my race pace would be for most distances, between 5K all the way up through marathon, full marathon. And it knew this calculator knew how fast I would be running, and then it suggested that I run a slower pace for my long runs than I'd ever run before. I was blown away. I had no idea that I should be running about 2.5 minutes slower than my half marathon race pace. And so if you're going to go and run, and literally this is what I did when I joined the spring training program and ran it as a participant for the first time about 5 years ago. That's what I did. I ran my half marathon race pace every single Tuesday night. I was running a race every week. That's not a healthy way to approach this. And no one was encouraging me to run that pace. It's just what I thought, well, that's what I should do. That's not what we want you to do. And so next Tuesday, I'm going to say, okay, everybody who's going to run a half marathon faster than me, that's in 1 hour and 30 minutes, you all go ahead of me. Everybody else go behind me, and I'm going to run like a 9-minute pace. So everybody's going to be able to run a little, slower than what you would anticipate that you're going to be running. It's going to be maybe hard to figure out what pace should you be running at. That's why we talk about this level of effort. Run at that pace where you can talk in full sentences, or as Angelica says, you can say your address, which apparently Angelica lives at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. So nice. And go with that level of effort. And it's going to take a little while. It's going to take a few weeks to shake out, where do I belong? What we don't want you to do is overdo it. We don't want you to go too fast on this first month worth of training, because you're either going to quit or you're going to get injured, and we don't want you to do either of those things. So it's not super helpful. I'm still going to hang the cards up. At least that'll, I think, get people to be kind of pick where they belong, and it might be close. But that's like I said, it's going to take a little while to kind of figure it out. Where do I belong?
Jeff, you are such a kind person. You and I have had this conversation many, many times, that having a race every Tuesday, like we have done for many, many years, it's not just the wrong thing to do. It's a crazy thing to do. So I think all of us just need to do the very best we can to just repeat what you've just said, is to slow people down. There will be plenty of opportunities in this training program to run faster, to run harder, to get the type of training that people want, if they want to get faster and they want to get stronger. But the early in the year and the long runs on Saturday are not that time.
Yeah.
So thank you for just repeating that again. And I think everybody should look up the Galloway mile that you're talking about.
The magic mile. Yeah. Brian put the link in the chat. When you go to the jeffgalloway.com website, you'll find it under the training section, magic mile. And so it's easy to find and to take a look at. Some other good points that are being made in the chat. It's dark at 6 o'clock, so reflective clothing is a good idea. Headlamps, if you've got them. Please, be nice to one another as we're passing, either in the same direction or in opposite directions, because the first couple of weeks is an out and back. And so, we want to go single file to be able to let people go by. We want to not have you know, in the past we've had, you know, 10 or 12 or 13, 15 people or a big clump around a pacer, and instead it will be more sprung out a little bit here. And again, when we're not racing and there's no emphasis on pace, the emphasis is on just getting out there and using your muscles. You don't have to put that kind of pressure on yourself to be able to keep up with that pacer. Now the effort is, let's just go out there and take it easy and build fitness for that first month. So great stuff. And Jennifer says she's never met a mean runner. Thank goodness for that. Now some of the bikers on the towpath, get out of their way, but the runners, we're all good. So
Jeff, there was a comment that's a little bit back up the thread now. Daniela, welcome to Indy. I love that we have like new Indy people.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of conversation starters out there. But she asked how we'll find each other on Tuesday nights, which is a great question. So come to gate 1 of Hinkle. Kathy, I don't know if you have your Indy Runners vest that you modeled the other night on the planning call. You can look for those. She'll model it in just a moment. And I mean this next comment with all the kindness that I can. We don't look like students anymore, so you will find us.
there will be
There's
some
a few
students.
folks on here, but yes, there. It'll be apparent that we're heading out for a run.
Wow, Tracy, I didn't know that. I'm looking forward to, you know, this, again, on these runs. There we go. Kathy's got the pacer. We will have these vests. So the coaches will have a yellow reflective vest, yellow or orange, and so as you're running or walking, if you're looking for some advice, if you're looking for somebody to ask a question of, the coaches will be wearing these Indy Runners vests, and so please come and ask us the questions that you've got, or just come and talk to us and tell us your story and tell us what you're trying to accomplish. We want to know, and we want to help you to accomplish that. And yeah, this is you get out on these runs or walks, you have the opportunity for people to tell you about how we dumped a biker in the canal one year. So
Hey, Jeff, one
Yes,
more real quick thing for any and all walkers that might be on this call. I'll be sending them all an email here in the next day or two, but try to be there as close to 5:30 as possible, and we will gather next to the Bulldog. I will tell everybody this in the email there in the main hallway at Hinkle, and then we will leave exactly at 5:45. So just wanted to say that one more time.
yeah, and the runners will meet in, you know, right inside gate 1 and kind of down the hallway towards the bathrooms, which is basically straight ahead as you come in the door.
Right.
And we will meet at 5:45, and we will run at 6 o'clock, and that will be fun. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to close this down now. Again, if there's any questions, go to the STP website. There's a link to the half marathon training program email. This Saturday, so the official spring training program starting on January 18th, Tuesday, and then the following Saturday would be the first Saturday run. There will be people, Indy runners will meet on Saturday, this Saturday, at the same place in Broad Ripple, at St. Vincent's, right next to the Monon, just south of Broad Ripple Avenue. And you're certainly welcome to join in. And like Terry said at the very beginning of the program today, we want you to have a few miles under your belt before you show up on Tuesday. We expect that you will be able to make 3 miles on Tuesday the 18th. And so be prepared. And so I think this has been fabulous. Great questions from everybody. I'm really looking forward to seeing you all in person next week. Between Terry and Angelica and I will do some announcements at the beginning of each each run on Tuesdays and Saturdays, and we will just have some fun. We'll get out there and enjoy the beautiful weather, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome.
Amen.
Thanks, everybody.
Agreed.
I'm going to say, as we go, I'm going to say one last thing, and that is, these are our sponsors. This might be out of date, so there might be a few others that we're missing, but we really appreciate the support that we get from the community, that helps keep Indy Runners going. This is an all volunteer organization that does amazing work, but of course, in order to provide some of the things that we provide, such as there's great snacks and treats at the end of every run. Stop by the table. Nancy is our stalwart. She will be behind the table slicing up oranges and handing out the granola bars. And so these people make that possible. We appreciate their support. And so if you get a chance to frequent their establishments, please do. That is the end of the virtual expo. Well done, everybody. Thank you, and we'll see you
Thank you.
Tuesday.
It was great.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Good running.